After a short time standing there, Khalid Abdullah walked out to me and stood next to me. He asked me, "Are you all right?" I took a deep breath because there was a concern inside of me because I needed to know the results of the crash investigation. As I continued to look out towards the desert, I asked him, "Were there any survivors?" He told me that there was no word yet. He was not even sure if the men survived the storm. He paused and said to me, "You know, I have another brother out there who was with them when they went ahead." "Truly?" I asked. "Yes. Adel Muhammad is his name." There was a pause between us, a pause that was ruled by a fear that seemed to cause the both of us to feel helpless. I spoke to him of it. While out there walking, I was at risk to accumulate a hate and anger for God. There are so many things in this life that we don't understand. There are so many experiences that we are given that feel so very unjust. It is as we live this life doing good things in the sight of God, but we are blessed according to another's life that we had lived in which we know anything about. It makes me feel as if to stand still. It makes me feel helpless as a man in a world doing well, but paying the price of one that has done only evil. I just don't understand anything anymore. I feel as though the giving of life and the loss of life is the greatest curse to man. In the losing, is there truly a giving? He too took a deep breath and said, "No matter of our own fears, the greatest fear is the lack of acceptance of the will of Allah or our own rejection of it. It alone brings the greatest pain inside us. What we don't know could hurt us in our sanity, friend, if we choose to dig into time. To try to intercede into time is not a reality. To assume that one can do such through his or her fears, will only lead to illusions that would soon serve as a self-destructive device. We must have faith and not be patient, but learn how to wait until Allah reveals what is hidden, in which our hearts and minds must know in the right time according to our gifts of understanding." I looked over at this wonderful man of wisdom and said to him, "No matter of what has happened, I am glad and blessed to have met you, to have known you." He smiled at me and looked back towards the desert. And there we were, two men from two different faiths standing together in stress of the same thing, both concerned of those whom we love. It is a shame of how religion itself has done nothing but separate mankind. However does God will circumstances in which bring us together upon a greater truth.
How's everyone doing? I thought that I would respond to some of the messages that I previously got on Facebook regarding my last two videos from my book, Dawn of Redemption. And these are some very, I would say, fair and interesting questions. And I'm just going to get right to it because I don't have a whole lot of time left for today, because I have a lot of things I need to do. However, a lot of the questions were like, if you are so against religion, then why are your books and stories religious based? And that's a very fair question, and that's a very direct question, and that's a very interesting question. But what you're gonna have to realize is that religious doctrine itself takes divine people and inject those people into religious doctrine. They did this with all of the prophets, all of the messengers, all of the prophets. They did this with Jesus, and therefore Yeshua. They did this to Moses, all of these people that was trying to liberate humanity by showing humanity, which is all of us, the way to go, which was primarily away from government systems like Egypt, Rome, as today Great Britain, and as today America. You know, Moses, the creator had told Moses to separate the people from Pharaoh, which is government, and so on. You know, it's like the disciples were trying to let the people know that Roman culture was not good for the mind and the spirit, and therefore the soul. Now, if you read the Bible, and if you look at all of the circumstances that are presented in the Bible when it comes to all of the people who I just mentioned, if you pay close attention, and some of you don't have to pay close attention, it's just some of you see it. All of those men, the messengers, the prophets, Moses, all of those people, Yeshua, including others, that when I was overseas, I mean, there was a whole lot of people who did a whole lot of work. I mean, even Mary Magdalene, you know, after Yeshua had physically died, she was going around speaking. All of these people are not recorded of being a part of any religious institution or any religious doctrine. These people, their example was taken and injected into religion. It's that simple. And my last video, there's a part in Dawn of Redemption of when Bishop Bergstrom's plane had crashed in the Sahara Desert. And he thought that he had lost his sister, you know, and as time went on, he bumped into a caravan of Muslims. Now, historically, the Catholic Church is recorded as being against the Muslim Islamic community. However, the reason why I wrote it like that is because I don't agree with the divisiveness that religions cause between men and women, which is humanity. So it was written to imply to the reader circumstances is what brings people together. It's never going to be religion. It's going to be real life circumstances based upon humanity, because real life circumstances totally supersedes within the human being their religious preference. When Bishop Bergstrom had met with Muhammad, it didn't matter what religion it was. The Muslim community reached out to help him. But in the book, I'm just going to use his last name, Muhammad. Muhammad had asked him, do you want our help, or do you want to move forward with your teachings, education, as far as the Catholic religion being against the Islamic religion? Do you want to move forward and die out here in the desert, or are you going to allow us to help you live and fulfill what his sister Saint Jessica told him? You know, don't die out here. You know, she was saying, promise me that you will live. Now here's a man in front of him who just so happens to be a Muslim, and he gave him a choice, the same as Saint Jessica. Promise me that you will live. That's a choice. You know, that's a condition that she put in front of Benjamin. Don't die out here. Promise me that you will live. And so when he came in contact with these Muslims, and when Muhammad had asked him, You know, do you want our help? Will you accept our help? Or are you going to continue to move forward with this mentality that you have as a Catholic against the Islamic community and die? So it's the circumstances. And so Benjamin thought about what his sister said, and he understood what Muhammad was asking him to do, and it went in harmony with Saint Jessica's wishes. And so he dropped his dagger and he allowed the Muslims to usher him back to health. So when it all boils down to it, it is about humanity. It is about humanity. And so I totally understand why a lot of you may get confused, but I've been stressing plenty times on how important it is to be a human being, because when it all boils down to it, and even with this past COVID thing that's been going on, a lot of you are finding out that COVID doesn't discriminate. It was killing Christians, it was killing Muslims, it was killing Catholics, it was killing Baptists. It doesn't matter. It was even killing the positive energy new wave people. It did not discriminate. So when it all boils down to it, it is about humanity. And that's one of the primary reasons why I write the way that I do, using religious-based dialogue, because I've been through all of the whole religious thing. You know, I've been through the church. I even joined a ministry out here in Las Vegas under the name Exalt Ministries. And I went in there with an open heart, with an honest heart. And I ended up just being surrounded by a bunch of people who hated me for no reason, simply because it was another sister named Kim. Her and I had become very good friends, and we became close. You know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden, I was hated. I mean, there was even times where we would all meet up for what is called the Sabbath. And I'm sitting at a table full of people that hated me. And we're supposed to be celebrating the Sabbath. So to me, all of that stuff doesn't mean anything. It means absolutely nothing to me. It doesn't mean anything. What you call yourself has no meaning. It has absolutely no meaning. So you can say, well, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm a Baptist, I'm this or that or the other. If you do not know how to treat human beings as human beings, it means nothing. I mean, look at what they did to Joan of Arc. You know, they condemned her as long as she was out there doing what she did for the government. But then after the church and the government burnt her, they looked at her work, and they saw that her work was divine, not strictly, fundamentally divine, because she was killing people with her army. But what she did was more beneficial to the religious world. And so the Catholic Church, who helped kill her, along with the government, the English government, made her a saint. And so it's the same thing that they did with Yeshua. The same church who condemned him, it's the same institution that injected his example into what you know today as Christianity. So it's about humanity. This is the reason why I'm using this background. Yeah, there I go. I'm using this background because it's all about humanity. So when it all boils down to it, My books use religious-based dialogue, but if you read closely, I create a lot of circumstances to where when it all boils down to it, it's all truly about humanity. And so with that being said, I have to go because I have a whole lot of things to do. But I thank you for your questions and everything. And if I didn't clearly explain anything, then just do what you do. All right. And send me a message. All right. Everyone, like I always say, stay human. Peace.